Greetings, CATDC. It's Lisa here, Executive Director. And it's February, mid-February. So much to celebrate, so much to do. And with all that's piled up on your plates in this mid-year moment, it can be hard and impossible to hit pause and devote some time and attention to your own learning and growth. And that's what we're all about at CATDC, supporting you to pause for a moment or a day or several days in a row and join us in our learning opportunities. Many of our programs are run by teachers and leaders in our member schools, hoping to expand their impact. We're also committed to bringing experts in the field to the CATDC Zoom space and in person to share their knowledge and wisdom. Two beloved rising stars in the world of education will be joining us on March 16th, Jennifer Abrams and Lori Cohen, who will be co-leading Tune In and Tune Up, attending to self and team to foster resilience. So I'm delighted to have half of the team, Jennifer Abrams, with me here today. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lisa. Really glad to be here.
So just a little bit about Jennifer's background before we get into our interview. So Jennifer started out as a teacher, and in over 2 decades at Palo Alto Unified School District, she taught high school English, worked as a new teacher coach and a professional development facilitator. She left in 2012 to start her full-time communications consultancy, working with schools and organizations across the globe. A deep thinker, an engaging writer, Jennifer has authored several books, including Having Hard Conversations, The Multi-Generational Workplace, Communicating, Collaborating, and Creating Community, Swimming in the Deep End, 4 Foundational Skills for Leading Successful School Initiatives, and most recently, Stretching Your Learning Edges, Growing Up at Work. I can't wait to read that one. I also look forward to her monthly blog, Voice Lessons, for timely tidbits of wisdom, humor, and resources. So Jennifer, you are doing so much. Talk about hitting pause. What are you up to these days? What's taking up most of your time?
I am doing something new that's kind of exciting, and then doing just sort of what I do all the time, which is do workshops, but with different groups. So I'll talk about that too. The thing that I'm doing now that I'm really honored to do is I'm a featured columnist for Learning Forward this coming year. And I'm going to be writing on growth and change. So that'll be sort of 6 columns that I'll be able to bring out. And I'm also writing for the International Educator on adult development and collaboration. And so those are the 2 new places that I'm sort of sharing my voice. And the other thing that I'm doing is I'm doing a lot of work with middle level leaders. So department heads, assistant principals, people that are in management roles below an assistant superintendent or department person in finance or in HR or whatever. And we're talking about the skills that we need to do that work, which we didn't get in our credential programs. So I'm always saying we have credentials in how to teach. We don't have credentials on how to communicate effectively to adults. And then within those roles, there are specific kind of skills that you need. And so I'm doing that across the globe. It's been really fun, really, really fun.
At some point, I'd love to talk to you more about kind of the cross-cultural aspect of that, because that must be fascinating in and of itself. Let's talk. We're so interested in leadership journeys and the paths that educators take as they do want to grow their impact and grow their capacity. What about your own journey? Can you tell us more about how you made that shift to get on the wonderful path you're on now?
I was a teacher for a decade. I taught high school English here in Palo Alto, California, and I value my colleagues who are continuing to do that work. I recognized, I guess, for myself that Macbeth died at the end of Act 5 every hour. And I was in need of a different conversation. And so I left the classroom at that point to focus on current, present time, 2 feet in the present, conversations that were just constantly nuanced, and they were with new teachers, and then moved into doing professional development at the behest of the assistant superintendent, and helped facilitate, administrative, professional learning, and on and on. And as I was in that role, one of the things that I recognized was that we did not have hard conversations very well. That was within my district. And I just started writing because I had to learn. And I wrote that first book and said, well, maybe I could talk to other people about this, not just in-house, right? And as I started to explore that, I grew my consultancy by percentage and went down in percentage and had some amazing mentors and supervisors who understood that developmental need. And I ultimately had a number of years where I was working half-time in-house and half-time as a consultant. And when Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act came in, and I was able to do the work and still pay for health insurance, which is something that all people that move into consultancy have to consider in the United States, because we have to pay for our healthcare here in the US. I finally said, I'm going to take the leap. And I then had to really figure out, how am I going to be of impact? How am I going to pay the rent? And built up a consultancy over the last decade, and wrote a number of other books. And so it wasn't as strategic as it sounds, sort of a narrative, that you look back. But it was a long process. And I'm very grateful that I took the leap. People say, but you left a pension and you left and you have a health pre-existing condition. And how could you do all that? And the question was, how can I not do that? That was how to stay in integrity and in alignment. And speaking of my voice lessons newsletter, that's what I'm writing about this coming month, because I'm turning 55. Oh. If not now, when? Right? If not now, when do you want to take these leaps? So I'm awfully glad I did. And I continue to try to leap.
Yeah, it's a very inspiring story. I used to work with Lori Cohen at the Bay School. We actually co-led a workshop together on transformational coaching, and she's been a vital part of CATDC. And she's starting a similar path beyond the school, beyond the classroom, working with many schools and educators, writing. It's wonderful. How did you two come to know each other, and what was the genesis of this program that you're going to be leading at TDC?
I think that I got to know her through her work with Bright Morning consultancy, Elena Aguilar's consultancy. And I think I was a keynote at one of the conferences that they had hosted at Asilomar a number of years ago.
I was there. That's the first time I saw you. Yeah, first time I met you.
Thank you. So that was an amazing opportunity, and I was honored to be there. And I think I met her through that. And as she is moving into just sort of doing professional development for a number of schools, and that's, what Bright Morning does as well. She is living she was at that time living in my area. She's now moved out of state. And I say to anybody, I really do say this. If you are interested in exploring moving into educational consulting, I will have lunch with you. I will have a drink with you on Zoom. I talk to anybody, because I didn't have that many sort of mentors. I had a couple that were so helpful in helping me see that you can make it, you can do it. And so she and I had a lunch. And that led to a friendship, and that led to me having a conversation with her where I said, I'd love to do another thing with CATDC. I've done different work in the past. And she said, let's do something together. And I said, if you're game. And so I have this book, Stretching Your Learning Edges. And she is also very much focused on professional development design and supporting people in their growth. And we decided to take just a piece of that book, this idea of resiliency, which can sound sort of trite, at this point. It's like everybody like, be resilient, but what does that really take? And we thought that we would focus on an individual's skill set in that particular way, how you build that, and what would that mean to tune into your own building of your resiliency? But then how can you tune up a team so that when feedback comes to them, when uncertain things come to them, they're sort of tuned up and ready for that. And so through our 2-hour training, facilitation, we're going to go through, I think, 4 exercises. So this is really an experiential thing where the people that attend can come and learn for themselves, but then also have that dual track of saying, how can I take this back and to support my team and have my team sort of tune up. So it's a tune in to yourself and tune up the team. So that's how we met. And we just talked yesterday. We're excited. I think it's going to be a great co-facilitation.
I think it's gonna be great too. I so appreciate the humor that you both have, the energy you bring, as well as your expertise, and again, just the courage that you both shown in taking the path that you have. And I love this dual focus of tuning in to ourselves, tuning up, and that people will have that for our teams, and people will have that opportunity within the workshop space. Yeah. So just thinking for a minute about the wisdom that you share in your blog and that you hold. Do you have any words of wisdom for teachers and leaders at this moment in the school year?
I think the piece that you said at the beginning of pausing, where we have prep periods, we don't have reflection periods. And I've got people that are like, I don't have enough time for this. This idea of tuning in or even tuning people up, they should just already be adult, right? So I don't have time to think, and I don't have time to help other people develop. We are focused on the children. We are focused on getting things done, and we're ramping up. We're moving beyond survival. We've got to actually think ahead. We're that kind of group. And I absolutely understand, and I respectfully disagree. And so I would tell people, you don't not have time to pause. You don't not have time. You got to. It's essential for you to realign with yourself, with your North Star, with being in service to the development of everybody in a school. And so one of the things I speak to in the book, I talk about human development is not an indulgence, and it takes time. And so give yourself that time and don't beat yourself up and say, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be focusing on, no, it's okay. Human development is not an indulgence.
I love that. That's a great line to end with. So thank you, Jennifer. Also, I just want to say thank you for the way that you give back to the world of education, particularly those individuals who are thinking about striking out on their own. That's a wonderful gift. And I'm sure there will be people who will take you up on that after your workshop. So thanks again for joining us today. And I look forward to being there with you on March 16th. And to the larger CATDC community, thank you for joining us, for pausing for a moment, considering your own development. And we hope to see you at a program coming up soon. Take good care, everyone.
Thank you. Be well.
Be well. Bye-bye.